Der dere, flott. Det Tore? Ja. Da finner vi hverandre. Okay. Are everyone ready? Yeah, let's start. Hallo alle sammen. Velkommen til familiesesjonen. I'm going to do a switch on to English because we have a couple of international guests here today. Which we are really happy for. We have David Brownlee from the Family Arts Campaign and Sam Rashkart from Kulturnet Flandern, and they will open this session with 20 minutes each, presenting the good work being done in England and Belgium on reaching the family segment and working with families. Afterwards, we will switch to Norwegian, having a little discussion. And in that discussion, I have with me Kari Skarperud Pettersen from Koda, and Hilde Bjørkum from Førde Traditional and World Music Festival, and Toril Rokseth from Nobel Peace Center in Oslo. So that will be, and we will have a little discussion on the possibilities and also the challenges in working with the family segment. But first of all, before we start, I have a clicker, that's always good. I am, after all, a trained art historian, so I couldn't let go of the possibility of showing some pictures. So I will have a little start just to give you all a perspective on what we're working on. So here's me. I'm working at the Sørlandets Kunstmuseum. With a lot of kids, actually, here. And this is probably before we started thinking of families in our art museum. Because where I work, we usually have, dealing with children at least, we have usually done this through the school system. And only until a couple of years ago, we started to think more about the families and making something towards them. Because, yeah, here's my family, actually. They are kicking it off half an hour before midnight at New Year's Eve. So that's what I'm dealing with at home. But a family can be very many things. And of course, the idea of family has also changed during history. So this is more the older image. Here's a typical 70s family, where what I have grown up in. And this is what you find if you Google family. This is what we in Norwegian call kjernefamilie, which kjerne means core. It's usually consists of 2 grown-ups and 2 children. If you're lucky, you have one of each gender. Families can be small, like this. Can be big. This is the world's largest family living under one roof. They can be rich. They can be poor, of course. You can have musical families. Here are the Jacksons. They can be criminal, like the Corleones. Families can be royal. And we also have the Holy Family. That's something different. And, of course, the modern family. Which today maybe the family and what the family is more complex than ever. We have, culturally mixed families. We have families where the parents have same sex. We have blended families with your kids and my kids and their kids. And there's very many categories that you can go. And of course, we have the extended family as well. We shouldn't forget them, which is with grandparents, uncle or 2, and aunts, and cross-generational. And working with the family is, of course, in its base, cross-generational. yeah, with that little point, I will give the word to David Brownlee from Family Arts Campaign. If you can give him a little hand while he's coming out on stage.
Thank you. Brilliant. Wonderful. Hello, everybody. I'm David Brownlee. I'm one of the co-directors of the Family Arts Campaign. I've been involved in it now for 3 years. And for 25 years, I've been working in the UK around audiences and audience development. And I have to say, this is the one project in that quarter of a century where I have just been amazed at how it has just taken life and captured the sector in a way that nothing else I've ever been involved in has done. And it all started from an interesting and not particularly brilliant place. Back in 2011, things were very, very tough for the arts in the UK. We had the biggest ever cuts from national government to the Arts Council, which then was passed on to the organisations that Arts Council of England funded. Part of that cut was to the Audience Development Agency network. Around England, in practically every area, there was an audience development agency that did similar things to Audiences Norway, supporting arts organisations to understand and grow their audiences. All of them lost all of their funding. And coming back in its place, the Arts Council decided it would launch a new fund called the Audience Focus Fund. And this was a far, far smaller amount of money, but was open to any organisations to apply for to support audience development in different ways. And there were 3 strands, and one of the 3 strands was called Collaborative Action, supporting collaborative action, marketing and audience development activity to increase family and cross-generational attendance and participation in the arts. So it wasn't us, the people who were behind the partnership who went for this, that decided on families, it was the Arts Council. Why did they think families was a good thing? I think lots of reasons. You just had a brilliant example there of the fact that defining what family is very difficult, and I'll come on in a bit in terms of where we ended up to in terms of our little fudge on that. But in terms of why family should be a focus in terms of audience development, particularly at this really difficult time, there were lots of good reasons. One of them is about developing long-term audiences. Research in the UK, which I know has been backed up in other countries, has shown that one of the key determinants to attending and participating in the arts as an adult is doing it as a young person. Absolutely fundamental. If you've been involved in the arts, you may stop in your teenage years, you may stop when you're older, but if you've been engaged when you're younger, you're more likely to re-engage when you're older, and you're particularly likely to re-engage if you go and engage with your family. So audiences for now and the future, very important. But audiences for now, I think you were talking a lot yesterday around segmentation. And Arts Council England carried out a big segmentation exercise of the UK population to see what types of audiences were most likely to become more often. We knew that things were tough financially. What kind of audiences would be the ones that would be the low-hanging fruit, that it would be easier to get more of them coming to support arts organisations that were losing their funding. And when they ran their segmentation exercise, they found a lot of the segments were really strong in terms of the numbers of people who were in families. So that was their reason for focusing on families. Collaborative action. This is a huge collaborative project. The application came in from a first-time gathering of umbrella bodies, of trade associations working in both the performing and the visual arts. And at the time of the application, until very recently, I was also running the UK Theatre Association. And the UK Theatre Association came together with Society of London Theatre, the Independent Theatre Council, but also with the Association of British Orchestras, Dance UK, and with a big network of contemporary visual arts organisations to work together on this application. Later on, we've joined with other people as well. The Audience Agency, which is the kind of legacy organisation from all of those audience development agencies, is also now an active partner in the project. And very early on, as we developed things, we found this charity called the Family and Childcare Trust, which is now the biggest charity in the UK, focusing on families and the needs of families, and they're part of our partnership too. Funders, we talked about England, but also Wales is now a funder of this as well, and we'll come onto that more in a minute too. So, where did this all come from in terms of what we were trying to do? Looking at families is not a new thing in the United Kingdom around the arts. There have been work around families for well over a decade. And there's some really good practice going on. We know that some arts organisations are really good in terms of their family engagement. We know, in fact, that some sectors tend to be better than the arts. We tend to find that museums have got their heads around welcoming families far more than many performing and visual arts organisations. So there's good practice, but it's not being shared. Me too, a parent. I've taken my daughter to arts events for 2 decades, and we've hit incredibly different welcomes in different places. And again, the research that we carried out bore out that fact that good practice in some places, very poor in others. We were getting feedback from some arts organisations that they wanted to do more family work, but they couldn't get good quality products put on for families. And again, in terms of our conversations with families and some initial primary research, we found that lots of families were saying, well, we just don't know where to go to get information. There are 101 sources, but we don't know anywhere to go to get trusted information. So we then thought, well, how do we address this? And with that partnership, we thought that actually looking at something really big, something really ambitious, working on a national scale, led by those organisations working in the performing and visual arts sector, should work to increase family engagement. And it should do it in 3 ways. Looking at products, looking at what art is available, and seeing how we can encourage a development of both the quality and the range of products available. Crucially, looking at quality of experience for families, and making sure that that was good and consistent as much as possible. And then underpinning all of that, improving marketing to families as well. There we go. This was in 2011. Really key, I think, to the long-term success of this project was when we submitted the application to the Arts Council. We said, look, you've given us 6 weeks to put in this application. We've done a bit of research, we kind of know the lay of the land, but we think we need to spend lots more time really honing this and getting a programme that's right for the sector and that's right for families. And coming up on the horizon for us was 2012 and the Olympics in the UK, and a huge amount of cultural activity around that as well. So when we put in the application, we said, right, if we are to get the money, we want to spend the vast majority of 2012 really testing this, really talking to families, really talking to arts organisations to make sure that every pound that's spent on this is spent wisely. And we bid for a lot of money. I think £1 million is probably about 80 million kroner, which for a single audience development project is probably the largest ever grant I think that's been given in the UK. We submitted it at the end of 2011, and then in February 2012, we heard that this huge application that we bid for, actually, we were given 1.1 million, which amazed us. And again, the first time I think we've ever known the Arts Council saying, we think this is so good, we think this is so ambitious, that we want to give you more money than you've actually asked for to try and make this work. And we then spent 2012 going away and trying to work out, well, what exactly does this look like? And we ended up with a model. We did end up with a model. We really did. Come on. That looked a bit like this. There were 2 sides to the programme. One side of it was very much public-facing. And I'll take you through each of these elements a bit more in a minute. But there were 3 key elements that we were looking at. Where should I be pointing this? There, that seems to be better. 3 key elements in terms of the public-facing side of the campaign. but this was really supported and underpinned by a huge amount of work with the sector to make sure that it was learning and sharing things between it. It didn't all work. And something of this size and scale, nothing is all going to work. And of those three big elements, we completely failed to get anything large and meaningful in the first 3 years around young people-led activities. This was based on a partnership that we tried and we tried and we tried and we just failed. So it's not an unequivocal success, but a huge amount of what we did, we think did work, and we think we've got the evidence to prove it. Going through those individual elements, the biggest public-facing element of the campaign has been the Family Arts Festival. The first one took place in 2013. We had one last year, and we're just preparing on this year's one, which will be in partnership for the first time with the BBC, which we hope will mean that it gets to even more people. But completely of their own free will, 900 arts organisations across the UK are taking part in this. It's very simple. All they need to do is to upload their event onto our familyartsfestival.com website, and then members of the public can go in, search by their postal code, and find out activities that are going on for families during that period that are for them. We then go out, we promote that website. We also now feed our database into listings into different places around the country as well. Very simple, but very big, and that scale it has been fantastic. I said I'd come on to where we got to around families and our definition. We have ended up defining families as very simply anything, or arts for families, as any event that will appeal both to an under 16-year-old and to an over 16-year-old together. It doesn't need to be a blood relationship. It could be even from the same generation. But the key thing is, and the key difference between child-focused work, is that it's about generations enjoying an artistic experience together. They may get different things out of it, but the key thing is that it's not just about going to an arts event for you to watch your child have a good time. It's about you having a good thing and you drawing new memories, creating new memories together. It's going phenomenally well. Do have a look at the website, www.familyartsfestival.com, and you'll see the real range of events that are on there at the moment. The next key thing for us was really focusing on the quality of that welcome. And this is where the partnership with the Family and Childcare Trust was absolutely fundamental. We had lots of arts organisations who we were consulting with and working with, but the key thing was getting the voice of the families and making sure that we were challenged at many, many occasions in terms of saying, well, arts organisations just can't do that. What we've ended up with is as a self-accredited quality mark for arts organisations, not just venues, but touring and non-venue based organisations as well, with lots of simple but very useful points in terms of what they should be thinking about in terms of giving a good family welcome and engaging families in the entire of their planning process. Again, do go onto our website and have a look at that, but it is a key element that we hope to develop in what we think will be the next exciting phase of the programme. We've put on conferences. We've done 2 big conferences, first of all in Birmingham and then in London, to share good practice and knowledge and understanding around working with families. They've been phenomenally well attended, partly by marketing people, partly by education and outreach teams, and partly by artistic and executive directors of organisations as well. There's a real keenness there to learn about families and what more can be done with them. We've also devised some bespoke training programs linked to some of the resources that we've been creating. Collaboration has been at the heart of absolutely everything that we have been doing. And that started with a big national collaboration. but we were really worried that we could end up with a kind of national top-down approach that didn't then reflect the different needs of different places. So a small part of the funding, and in terms of that overall funding, it really was a quite insignificant part of the funding, we set aside to provide little boosts to networks of organisations coming together on a local area to look at families and the needs of families in their area. And we just said, look, go away. As long as 6 organisations in an area come together, and as long as they're working across at least 2 art forms, we will support you as a network. We'll bring together these networks a couple of times a year, and we will have little pots of money where possible to support you in activities that you want to do that you think are needed in your area. For me, this has been one of the most successful elements of the campaign, because we've had 22 of these spring up so far across the UK, most of them in England, but now a couple in Wales as well. The money for them may have got them to the table, but actually just coming together and looking collaboratively at what they could be doing, for most of them still really about families, but some of them have got way beyond that this has been a catalyst to do lots of other collaborative work. It's been hugely successful, and it's got some conversations going in towns and cities and rural areas between arts organisations that just weren't happening for decades. And maybe that's something that it could be looked at in other places as well. The campaign has led to some really big questions being asked about, well, how do we better support families? And as I said, there's lots of information that was already there that we tried to pull together in terms of research and good practice. But there were also some areas where we found that there just wasn't information out there that could help support organisations. And the 2 key pieces for me are ones that were launched at our conference in March this year. One was about pricing for families. Everybody gets really confused about pricing for families. I think a lot of arts organisations get confused about pricing completely, but families seem to be a big issue, that if it's families, it's got to be free, or if it's families, it's got to be really cheap. No, it hasn't, but you need to think through various steps. So we got Baker Richards, who are internationally renowned pricing specialists, have done a really good resource that kind of takes you through a program of thinking about your product and your audiences and how you should be thinking about family pricing in that regard. The other key resource that we launched was around content guidance. I think we naively began thinking that, well, if you just put an age on an event, that's fine. People will understand then in terms of whether it's for their family or not. Actually, a lot of parents don't like age guidance at all because their families have different needs and they need more information to be able to take an informed choice about whether an event is for them or not for them. And our content guidance takes you through the kind of areas where actually families want that information. They don't want to be surprised. That one of the biggest issues in terms of writing copy for families in the UK is that if you say something is full of surprises, it will put most families off because the last thing they want as a parent is to be surprised. That kind of thing has been surprising to some people in the UK. And I'm running out of time, so I need to get rolling. I just put up 3 quotes up here, which I should have got translated, I'm really sorry. But just to give an idea of the kind of feedback we've had from arts organisations about the campaign and the way it's got them thinking about families. Sheffield Theatres Trust, Sheffield wins awards all over the place in terms of being one of our top regional theatres. But even they found that the campaign made them think differently and refocus on their offer to families, looking at things like facilities and pricing for their organisation. Theatre by the Lake were like many, many organisations where families were great. They came at Christmas and then you waved goodbye to them for the rest of the year. What the campaign has done for lots of organisations is to get them to think, there is a market here that we are serving once a year, but not the rest of the year. What more can we do, particularly in terms of holiday periods, to get these families back in and to make them core regular audiences? And Quads, which is a cinema and visual arts gallery in Derby, key to this consortia work in collaboration has been a real boost in terms of the ways of working in lots of places around the UK. I've got horrible red lights, and I haven't told you anything about our Europe project yet, so I will flip through this, and Sam will pick up the baton anyway. Collaboration has been huge. When we first started our first conference, we were surprised and delighted to see delegates coming from other nations across Europe. And from that, we started finding out that there was some really good work happening in other parts of Europe. And as our 3 years of funding were beginning to run down, we thought, well, we think there's more in this. We think there's more we can learn from other nations. I won't go through them there, but there is a group of other nations, including Norway, that we've been working on for a big collaboration project to Creative Europe, which we will be submitting the application later on, well, next month. It will do some similar things to what we've been doing in the UK, and Sam will talk about some of the fantastic things that they're doing in Belgium that we think we could learn from. But one of the big elements that we're looking at as part of this is really focusing on artistic products and how that we can look at more flow of good international work for young people and families across Europe, and how we can encourage greater collaboration across Europe as well. So it's not just a retread of what we've been doing in the UK. We will be looking at things like the standards and seeing whether there could be some European standards, but actually this is a program that will be taking us into far more new and exciting areas. And we are hoping that if we are successful, that the first big thing will be in the UK in March 2017, a first European conference where we will be trying to ask and answer what does family and family-friendly mean across Europe. But we'll also be using that as an opportunity for a showcase of some of the best work from around Europe for families, all in one place across at least 2 days, possibly longer, in March 2017. And it will be lovely to see you there. I'm sorry, I'm running late. I'll hand over to Sam.
Hi everybody, I'm Sam from Belgium, and I thought I knew everything about rain this morning when I was walking towards the center, but I've learned 3 things. First, not all people wearing rubber boots and plastic pants are fishermen, they're just smart people. Second of all, I noticed why people were looking at my shoes, they're not very good for the rain. And third of all, now I know why we had 7 different umbrellas in my apartment. I just lost one. So I learned a lot during 20 minutes walking here. I hope you will also learn some things about my presentation, about being family-friendly in Belgium. First of all, there is a lie on the slide. It's not Belgium, it's Flanders. It's just half of Belgium, 6 million people. And being family-friendly, we will know what that means in 2017 on the Congress. But I see being family-friendly as a container with lots of different contents. And I will only be focusing on the communication part of being family-friendly. So you also have the artistic product that can be family-friendly, or the practical things, or the welcoming. But I'll be talking about communication today. And my little friend Fly will help me. More about that later. I work for Cultuurnet Vlaanderen, and this is our mission statement. We like to have more people, give them more appetite in more cultural things. And Vlieg, our little friend, wants to have more people give more appetite to more cultural events. What is it we do? We are a relationship agency, and we mediate between events and audience. How do we do it? Through communication. So we do not organize something ourselves, we just help people and organizations communicate about their events. Our little friend Fly, well, it's not so little anymore, if I look at it this way. There are 5 things you need to know about Fly. So Fly is an information label, and it just says these events are for families or for families with children younger than the age of 12. That's it. It's not a quality label. It doesn't say it's very good, just good, or bad. It's just information label. It's not only cultural events, it's also sports events, just any possible event that you can go to with your family with children younger than 12. And family also includes grandparents, of course. Second thing you need to know about Fly is that 85% of Flemish cities use Fly. So we have more than 300 cities in Flanders, and almost 270 of them, they use Fly in their communication. So every city on their website, their information magazines, they use Fly. So everybody almost knows it. He's adopted, because not only the cities, but also more than 500 artistic organizations, cultural organizations use Fly in their communications. Because they know if people see Fly, everybody knows, this one might be interesting for me and my family. And this is very interesting, it's a very good number. One person out of 3 in Flanders knows Fly. He recognizes it, he knows what it means, and he appreciates it. And that's quite a big number for an insect that's usually found on dirty stuff. And last of all, Fly is a gang leader. This is a surprise. I hope you do like surprises. I'll be talking about that later on. So this is our general idea of Fly. Just use Fly in your communication, you'll be fine. I'll now zoom in on the beautiful city, and it has got the beautiful name, Scherpenheuvel-Zichem. Okay, can you please repeat after me? Scherpenheuvel-Zichem. That's good, that's good. I promised the people of Scherpenheuvel-Zichem that I would give them a souvenir, because I'm here in Norway talking about the things they do, so it's not fair. So I promised them a souvenir. This is a heart. It's a heart of Fly. And I'll just hand them to the first row. We use it in one of our campaigns I'll be talking about later on. There we go. I'll just take one myself so I can show you. So there's a little fly on it. Just put it on R of record, and then we're going to try it again and say Scherpenheuvel-Zichem together. Can you please, you, the 5 with the heart, you can talk into the heart, and then I can give it 5 random Norwegian people saying the beautiful name of Scherpenheuvel-Zichem. Okay, all together, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. It's not loud enough, but it's okay. Did you have any sound? So this is one of the things we do with Fly, but I'll be talking about that later. Thanks for cooperating with me. So what do you have to know about Scherpenheuvel-Zichem except the very crazy name? It actually means sharp hill itself, or something like that. Scherpenheuvel-Zichem is famous because it is the most important Roman Catholic pilgrimage site, because back in medieval times, the Holy Mary performed a miracle there. We do not know if the miracle was family friendly. So why is Scherpenheuvel such a good example? They have 22,000 inhabitants, which is like an average city in Flanders, and they only organize 3 family-friendly events themselves as a city, which is not a lot. Why are they family-friendly then? You're all thinking. Well, it's easy, because they communicate in a very clever way about all the events organized by local organizations that might be family-friendly, and also about neighboring from neighboring cities. So they talk about nice events in a cultural center in the next village, which is beautiful. Just work together is my advice. I'm going to show you quick all the information channels that they use to talk about their events or the events of other cities, because they're not their events. They just know there are a lot of families in Scherpenheuvel-Zichem, and they want to help them because it's an important target group. If families have nice experiences in their city, they might stay in the city. So this is just a screenshot of their website. There's a big agenda. It's filling the whole page, actually. And if there is a family-friendly event on the website, you can clearly see the little fly saying, hello, this is a family-friendly event. But the website also has got its own dedicated page for Fly, saying all these events in Scherpenheuvel-Zichem or neighboring cities are family-friendly. Just a little explanation. Hey, who are you? I'm Fly. I'm the animal that points out nice events. And of course, it's their own agenda. So in this little village, you can see they almost have 60 events that are suitable for families. Great, isn't it? Of course, they have their information magazine that they put in every physical mailbox every month. So that's more than 10,000 mailboxes. And of course, they have events with the Fly label. Again, next one. Before every big holiday, they have this little brochure, and they also send it to everyone in the city with all the family events. So this is a special publication only with family-friendly events. Okay, so these are all general information products. You send it to everyone. Everybody can see it. We learned yesterday that it's stupid to do so. It is. But you gotta know, a lot of families, like 50% of the decisions you make as a family, you make them in advance because you want to plan your holiday. I'm gonna send my kids to camp so I can go to the office because I don't have enough holidays. That's how it goes. So 50% of the time you plan your holidays, so you got the planners, but on the other hand, you also have got a lot of last-minute decision making. Research points out that 50% makes a decision the day itself or the day before. So talking about the weather might be a good idea, taking an umbrella or not. If you, like we with Fly nationally, we send a newsletter every Friday afternoon. And then we decide, are we gonna talk about outdoor events or indoor events? Because the weather might be rainy as well. Another thing, who decides? Mom decides. Yay. Woo. And children have a lot of pester power, so that means that if they are involved in the decision making, that they will enjoy the event even harder. That is, we don't have anything to say, but that's okay. So we had all these general information products. That's easy, you just print all the events, that's it. But they do something else. Where can you give the right information at the right time for families? Well, you should go to places where families go. And that's why they decided to print this little ugly, you can say they're ugly, to print these little PDFs, these little papers with 8 events on. Every 2 months they pick out the best 8 events that they feel are interesting, and they spread them through these very funky information stands with flies, like fake newspapers of Fly or this information stand, and they put them on 11 different locations in the city. First of all, you've got the cultural center, makes sense. You've got the library, makes sense, a lot of people go there. And then you've got the touristic office, that's more for people from outside of Scherpenheuvel-Zichem. But then they also spread it, these are usual suspects, because people that go there, they know that they can find cultural information there. But we also spread it in the city hall, because people wait there for stupid administrational stuff. This building is not done yet, but they have 4 buildings like this, and it's, I don't know how to say it, but if you can't pick up your kids after school, they send all the kids to that building, and then they wait there to pick them up. So at these locations, parents rush in after a hard day of work. They feel guilty of not seeing their kids, and then they can find this beautiful leaflet with all things they can do with their children. Great. This is called Kind en Gezin, and Kind en Gezin, it means child and the family, and they guide every family in Flanders and every child in Flanders through their whole life. So 99% of families in Flanders go to Kind en Gezin. Every city has one. So you come in there because you want to weigh your baby, or you want to talk. My little toddler is biting other children. That's quite common in Flanders. I don't know if it's the same here. And then they give advice. So everybody comes there, and everything you need to know about kids and children you can find at Kind en Gezin. So also there we spread these flyers. This is the schommel, means the swing set, and the swing set is a social organization where they help and guide and counsel families in a more difficult situation, let's say. And also the social service of the city has these flyers to give to the families that come there. What do we see? 11 ugly buildings, because they all look the same when I was looking at it. But you can make categories out of. The one on the left are the cultural organizations. You reach a very particular audience there, because their families, they have already found their way to the institutions. So this is the core audience, the core families you can find there. But in this one, it's like the very difficult, hard to reach target groups, and just like putting a flyer there doesn't help them. You really gotta talk to them and give them the flyer. So the conversation with the professional is also important there. And then the one in the middle, and this is the most important, because this is the biggest segment in Flanders. It's about 60%. The other two are 20%. The core audience, the not audience, non-audience, or not yet audience. And these are people, they don't know. It's like, I want to do something, but I don't know if there is something to do in Scherpenheuvel-Zichem. They just know, and it's like, look at this flyer, because we just bump into it. And those are the people that are very easily to convince to go to an activity, because they just need get over this one barrier called communication and information. So that's why these locations are so important. Another place where you can find parents, schools. Now the schools in Scherpenheuvel-Zichem, the primary schools, they have like a paperless policy, so you cannot hand out flyers there. But it's the same technology on their website. So they send all parents to the website for all kinds of information. And every week, let's say, people must go to the website. And they have this little vliegtips, like tips from Fly, with also all the same events that are on the website of the city itself. So there are 4 primary schools in Scherpenheuvel-Zichem, and all of them have this little automatically generated agenda on it. Another place where you might find families. So I've been summing up a lot of different channels where you can find families or how you can reach them. But this is the full scheme. It's not very special. But the full scheme, and that's what we do with Cultuurnet Vlaanderen, is we make this possible in Scherpenheuvel-Zichem, but also in all the other 300 cities we have in Flanders. So imagine you are Natuurpunt. Natuurpunt, they organize a lot of interesting walks in forests, in parks. Kids love to do that. And they organize a lot of events. All of you guys, I imagine you organize events. So anybody can put in their event in our database. It's called Uitdatabank, if I invent my own Norwegian language. We have more than 150,000 events a year in the Uitdatabank, and they are put in by more than 20,000 organizers. So that's good, but just collecting data doesn't do anything or doesn't promote your event. So we publish them. We have our own website. So we have our own site Going Out with Fly and our own website Going Out in Flanders. Going Out in Flanders is the best known leisure activity web page in Flanders. We have over 5 million visits a year, and 1 million visits, so 20% of those visits are parents looking for activities for kids. So, and that's just one website. So it automatically goes to those websites. We have partnerships with more than 500 other websites. All the newspapers, they have an agenda that is powered by us. So also very interesting. Also a lot of other thematic partners, but I won't go into them. And then we also send them automatically to the website of Scherpenheuvel-Zichem, to the website of the school in Scherpenheuvel-Zichem, and then the people, I have to point that way, the communication officer of Scherpenheuvel-Zichem can choose, like that's why I call it curated content. They can choose, okay, and now I also want to promote these events in my print communication. So if you go all the way back to Natuurpunt, they just put in their event, literally just like this. It takes like 1 minute, and they reach a lot of channels. In total, we have more than 700 channels. You won't reach all of them, but it's very easy. Just put it in once, and you have a huge reach. And Scherpenheuvel-Zichem is very smart of doing all this our communication. So that's the full scheme. We call it the basic layer of our communication. It is 24/7, you can reach it. But in order to have a very interesting and better communication, you have to put in peaks and other mountaintops, let's say. So I have 2 more minutes, and I have 2 examples. So I'll also be talking about the hearts. So one thing we do on our website, Uit with Vlaag, is Uit with Vlieg, is you just have the basic information. This is the Flemish Center for Contemporary Glass Art. It's called the Glass House, and they talk about why they are the best, and this glass is so special, which is good. But that's not all families need to know. Families need to know other things. So we have family feedback on the website. So families can just log in, and that's the gang of Fly. So Fly has this gang with 11,000 families giving feedback on events, and they're saying, this one is saying, oh, you cannot go inside immediately. You really have to go to the office next door to ring the bell, and then you can get in, which is interesting. You get a little gift afterwards, which might be interesting for other families to know. This one says, just climbing up the stairs is amazing. Just go for that. Forget all this glossy art. Just take the stairs. You can see your school from there. And that's what kids want to know. This one was also interesting. And it was an exhibition about glass and body, and some things were quite explicit. So it might be interesting to know for families that you shouldn't go there. So families need to have other information that we think of. And who is best placed to give those information? It's other families. So people log in to our website. They can, if you write a review, you get points, and then you can change those points for Fly merchandise. Yay, Fly gets even more famous. Or you can get a free ticket for other events. So that's how we do it. At this moment, we started 2 years ago. We have 11,000 families on our website writing reviews. And the other thing I want to talk about, and this is my last slide, is this room filled with 40,000 eggs in the botanical garden in Leuven. This was one of our events. We discovered in the beginning, I told you that Vlieg doesn't organize events. We're just an information label saying that this might be suitable for your family. Well, it's not true. We noticed during summer 2 things. First, all cultural institutions are closed. There is no programming going on. But on the other hand, what is the time that families, that parents can be together with their kids? During the summer holiday. So we decided, let's do something about it. So we made a treasure hunt in the whole of Flanders, and we have 250 locations that took part in it. So it's just a very classic treasure hunt. We hid some treasuries somewhere in one of these cultural institutions. You have to do some assignments, and then you find the treasury, and then in this particular year you could find a little ring for a chicken that's around their legs, has a coat on it, and then one of these eggs was yours, because these eggs are actually a part of a very big artsy installation. It's called the Cosmopolitan Chicken Project by this artist called Koen van Mechelen. what's his idea? He started this 25 years ago. He wants to breed the world chicken. So as a Japanese chicken with a Chinese chicken breeding, and as a New Zealand chicken. So now he's been doing this 25 years. And is this art? Is this science? That's what we want to talk about with children. We want to talk to them about art. So we asked Koen van Mechelen, can you make this installation and involve families to your arts and what you do? So one of the kids who found the ring in one of these 250 locations was actually, one of these eggs actually came out and was the next step in this arts project. So one random kid in Flanders is now godfather of a chicken in a very big artsy project, which is crazy. We got all the media covered, all the national media, and it's just fun because we had 40,000 families enjoying their staycation. You know the term staycation? It's like your vacation, but you stay at home because economic reasons, ecological reasons, you just want to have a nice day out. So you really need to provide activities in your own village. That's good. So that was 2 years ago, and this year we are doing, because it's summer is over, too bad, we did artsy projects around all the senses, and this year it's listening to the sound, and we have a forest of sounds somewhere in Flanders, and in all these locations we have been hiding these hearts. Kids could make their own sounds, then they send it to Vlieg, and now we have this big installation filled with hearts, so you can just walk through it and press the sound, and then you hear what other kids said. To be honest, it's not a big success because kids only curse in the hearts or they start shouting, "Ah!" So it's not very musical, but it's still very interesting. So these are other two things on top of the basic communication. So family feedback is important, and our treasure hunt, which we will take into the European project. So thanks for listening. My name is Sam Rasgaard. You can rent me as a babysit if you want to as well. And thank you.
Thank you, Sam. That's really brilliant. Of course, both of you come from very succeeded national collaborations that are very important. And I wonder, Sam, how long has Kulturnet Flandern been active?
We started in 2002. Then we made the first database, just the database, and then we've always been renewing it. And Fly, we started with Fly 10 years ago in 2005. So it all grew. In the beginning we had one city talking to us and one newspaper, and now we've just been growing and growing. So it's important. You cannot start this, oh, this is a good idea, let's do the same thing as they do in Belgium. It's not going to be happening in 1 week. It takes
years, right?
Yeah. And every time we had a new release of the database, my hairline was like the sea. It was going back of stress, and I was growing back. So it's hard work, and you got to convince people. It's not easy. But now I think we are quite successful.
Yeah. Because that's quite many years as well, because my experience from Norway is that we have even more fragmented digital landscape than ever before, and cultural producers are sitting, putting in their events in many channels instead of just one. Yeah. So working with something over some time is
and that's a big success for organizers, because they know they have to put it in just once to reach all these channels. But the most important thing is that they want to be in the city's communication, because research points out that people like to go to events, like this middle group, that just need information, like to go to events in a 30-minute drive from their house or 30 kilometers zone. Well, it's actually zone 10 if you really zoom into it. So if you have the city spread the communication, they trust the city. They don't trust the politicians, but they trust the city communication. So if you have them talk about your event, that's like the key to success.
So public local governance is important as well, and collaborating with them. Yeah. How was that for family arts campaign. You know, getting all these cultural institutions to collaborate and joining in the project.
It has been remarkably easy. I don't know why still that families was the thing that everybody just got. That it was something that wasn't a difficult thing to sell to an artistic director or executive director. Everybody saw it was a good thing. How can anybody not want families more engaged with what they're doing? I think, though, things that have been challenging for us have been translating that engagement from the sector into having a real understanding and presence with audiences. So we have been stealing ideas from our colleagues in Flanders about, well, how can we get our website feeding into other websites? Because even with the amount of money that we've had, being able to create a national brand and make 30% of the public aware of it, we're nowhere near that at all. But we really hope that potentially by working on a European basis, we'll get even more of a critical mass and it will become easier for all of us.
Yeah, because you're like joining together now in a European application. Yeah. And but before we will speak a little bit about that afterwards. But I was also wondering how important is this knowledge sharing that you do? I don't know if you do that as much as you do, because you have also like research projects and you have a database where people can, you know, tick in on the internet and get articles about different things connected to the Family Arts Campaign.
It's been absolutely fundamental for us. The first thing was to gather together all those other good pieces of work that have been done over the last 10 years and put them in one place so that anybody can go in and have a look on the website. But over the last 3 years, the coming together, both those coming together of those networks, but also at our conferences, that has been really powerful. And there are some organizations that it's not the usual organizations, it's not necessarily the best funded ones, it's not the most famous ones, but people who've really got their heads around this. There's an art centre called the Woodville in a place in Kent that most people will never know of, never been to. They've created the most wonderful video around the family welcome, the family experience that you can have at the Woodville. And organisations all around the country are now looking at this video because it's not the National Theatre, it's not the Royal Opera House, it's the Woodville that have come up with the best way of doing this.
Nice. And of course, as I see it, you have a quite dynamic model, both of you, that it's possible to just share your events and share what you're doing without, you know, putting everything back in order or into place and just doing having family focus. Because maybe I think that's what many institutions are fearing, that or are afraid of, is that we are going to make just things for families. And of course, I see that as a big success as well, probably, that you have this dynamic model on it.
And I think one of the differences between what we're doing at the moment is that whereas you're very much focused on under 12-year-olds, what we've tried to do is to say, okay, your mainstream program, could that appeal to a family, to an older family? And you're quite right in terms of the mums making the decisions with younger children. Once you get into the teenage years, it's far more about a negotiation with those young people. And therefore trying to think, okay, well, what information should we be providing about how this will appeal to a young adult is equally as important as how this will appeal to a 4-year-old as well. So that the whole notion that this isn't dumbing down, but this is about just making everything that you're doing more accessible has been really fundamental to what we've done. And
communicating, right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of also the social profile of Family Arts Campaign, which to me was quite it was quite visible when I was at the Family Arts Conference as well. How was that important in the start, having this social profile that you need to work with families from different also economical backgrounds?
I think it's something that we've all cared deeply about, and going into this, we want to see a broader range of families taking part in the arts. I don't think that's something that we can claim has really happened yet on a national level. Some of those 22 local networks have really focused on getting to different types of families in their areas. And particularly the projects that we're doing with Wales, we'll be looking at families in poverty and how the arts can work more with them. But in the first 3 years, we have been more looking at the low-hanging fruits, those most likely to be able to be tipped over into arts engagement or come to the arts more often, rather than looking at the harder to reach. But that is still something that's very important to us, and we hope that as we look at this across Europe, if the bid is successful, that will become something of greater priority.
Of course, we need to talk about the FACE project, because that is something happening now. You're putting in an application in October, isn't it? And how many countries are involved in the FACE project? Does Family Arts Campaign Europe, it stands for, just to explain it. So how many countries are in on that project now?
So there are now 7 countries in on the project. Our 3 nations, along with Spain, Italy, Romania and Croatia. And different arts organizations and different types of organizations in all of those nations. But I think with a shared interest in exploring more what families and families' engagement with the arts means, and how we can learn from each other, grow, develop, and share across Europe. So it seems, keeping my fingers crossed, really well aligned with the Creative Europe objectives, but it's not driven by those. It is a genuine desire by us to be working together and learning from each other.
Of course, and spreading the knowledge even further, and geographically also join forces. And of course, there's a project also in that phase, which is called something like the TripAdvisor for families, which I guess you are especially interested in.
Yeah, that's actually our knowledge of the gang of Fly we want to put in. Actually, the whole scheme I was talking about today, we thought this might be interesting because we've been scaling it from city to city to city. Everybody can use the same model, put it in once, and then you don't have to think about building the website because we all do those things. But that was a little bit, I think, because we have this history, so we were too much upfront. So we calmed it down a little bit and just focused on the TripAdvisor for families, because it's important, because we see communication as an onion. You know, you've got the core product, the heart of the onion, and that's what the organizations can talk about themselves. But then you also got the experience that's on top of the artistic product. It maybe doesn't have anything to do with the core product, but with just experience. Think about the example I gave with the glass house. The kids didn't care about the glass house, but they cared about the stairs going up, and that was interesting. So that's something we might not think about, and we think families are the right people to talk about. And then the next layer might be practical stuff. Watch out those stairs, you cannot take a buggy all the way up. So that's this onion model, and I think we can only reach the core with our communication. So the TripAdvisor for families would be making the onion whole and big and beautiful.
It sounds really good. But of course, feedback is, and that's probably what you see as well, that you have something to go on with getting feedback from the audience. And,
The feedback is fundamental to everything we've done so far and going forward completely. And those conferences, in terms of getting that conversation taking place across Europe, as we've developed the bid, just the whole notion of family and how it's defined in different European nations, it's so diverse and it's changing in different ways in different places. Your slides early on showed a kind of greater diversity in terms of what family means. In some nations, it seems to be going completely the other way and becoming more conservative. So there's a huge amount there to be explored, and I think there will be a lot that's learnt, and some of the projects that have been working well in other nations, absolutely there'll be an opportunity to start rolling those out.
And of course, that's also, I see that that's coming more and more important as well when we're making cultural products and making art. That the public also is more involved in that. And that's of course new in the FACE project as well, probably, as far as I can see, that you also are intending on getting fund for making.
Absolutely, and there are 3 conferences across the program. We are really hoping that the second one will be here in Norway. And one of the things that might explore is how do you involve families in creating projects, creating arts projects, and then that could absolutely feed into there's a fund for 3 years of co-commissioning across European nations. Could we feed that into that? So we got artists from different nations working together, but also working with families from different nations. And I think there is, as things progress in terms of the wider world, issues around migrant families and how we can look at that across the program. I think that could be really exciting, innovative, helpful, and yeah, really good.
Very exciting. With that, I think we are going to switch over to Norwegian, because we're going to have a couple of Norwegian institutions on stage. Så da tror jeg skal kalle opp de her damene. Så har de kommet opp? De har kommet opp, flott. Vi skal ha tre ulike, skal vi kalle dere, institusjoner, som skal gi en kort presentasjon, og så skal vi ta det inn i en liten diskusjon etterpå om hva slags muligheter som ligger i dette. Så først så vil jeg da ønske velkommen til Kari Skarperud Pettersen fra Kode, Kunstmuseet i Bergen. Velkommen.
Tusen takk. Presisere at jeg da representerer Kode i sentrum, det vil si kunst- og designavdelingen, og ikke komponisthjemmene. Vi har jobbet lenge med familiepublikum ved museet, og vi tilbyr både verksteder og omvisninger og familieyoga, og vi inviterer også andre aktører inn på våre arenaer. Jeg skal si litt, skal vi se, var det next, sant? Her ser dere et lite utvalg av noen av de tingene som vi jobber med familieyoga her, og omvisninger for barnefamilier. Og vi utgir et program, det kommer ut 3 ganger i året, som er spesielt rettet mot barnefamilier. Dette sender vi ut på en egen e-post, og vi får det også med i forskjellige aktivitetskalendere, i avisene og sånn. Der vil jeg særlig trekke fram Barn i byen som en sånn veldig viktig arena for oss å nå ut med vårt program. Vi har også samarbeid med andre aktører i regionen, som er veldig fine familiesamarbeid. Kanskje ikke på samme nivå som vi har hørt her, men det er også veldig store, flotte samarbeidsprosjekter, som Kulturhelg og Barnas Kulturhelg, Alfa Omega-festivalen og Barnas Festbil. Her ser dere et lite utvalg av programmene som vi har vært med det siste året. Dette her var liksom en slags innledning, kan vi se, på det som er liksom det generelle. Det går på alle våre utstillinger, har vi tilbud om forskjellige rebuser og omvisninger og så videre. Men det viktigste tiltaket vi har gjort de siste årene, det er etableringen av Kunstlab. Det er en egen avdeling for alle, altså for familier. Det er forskjellige laboratorier, utstillinger, verksteder, Og det på ingen måte en barneparkering, som kanskje noen har spøkt om tidligere, sånn litt sånn IKEA. Dette her laget for alle. Det på en måte dette begrepet allealdre-litteratur som vi finner i barnebokverden. Det også veldig godt å bruke her. Vi har hatt ulike utstillinger her, og vi skifter cirka annethvert år. Og akkurat nå har vi en utstilling med, her litt mer fra Kunstlab. Nå har vi en utstilling om barneboklitteratur, og om illustrasjonene spesielt. Her det da tatt et tema som drøm, og så har vi organisert et utvalg av norske illustrasjoner under den fanen, og satt det sammen med gjenstander fra samlingen vår, og også innleide kunstverk. Her ser dere en lokal kunstner fra Kristiansand, med denne sengen og gulvet, som Roald Andersen, som har laget et fantastisk gulv som bukter seg rundt, og som barna umiddelbart hopper og løper og inntar, mens de voksne kanskje snubler litt og sånn. Og slik får man jo i gang en god samtale mellom barn og voksne også, med at man har forskjellige måter å interagere på det. Og både de voksne og barna synes dette like morsomt, men vi opplever det på forskjellige måter. Og det det som har også vært grunntanken her, å få til et sånn type utstilling som like spennende for alle. Vi har også da hentet veldig mange gjenstander fra samlingen vår. Dere ser her i midten fra et lite sånn jordbærrom, som vi har kalt det, som litt sånn Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton-versjon her, med Meissen-porselen fra 1700-tallet, og Felice van der Lest, smykkekunst, og alt på en måte da satt sammen til et slags tablå, og med tapeter fra illustrasjoner i noen av bøkene. Og dette her også et sted hvor det små forstørrelsesglass som man kan hente fram, og så kan man lete etter detaljer fra bildene fra veggen på baksiden. Og så det jo også sånn at drømmene de jo ikke bare gode, så vi har også fått plass til et skummelt rom. Her tråkker man inn på et gulv som belagt med skumgummi, og man skal ta seg på føttene. Det dødninghoder, og det speil hvor du ser ditt eget speilbilde sammen med et dødninghode. Og det ganske guffent egentlig. Og mange av de mindre barna synes det kan være litt sånn skrekkblandet fryd. Og det jo også litt av poenget. Og de voksne må også ta seg på føttene. Og det også områder hvor man bokstavelig talt kan klatre opp i boksidene, som dere ser her. Hvor man kommer inn i Annas himmel, som egentlig da en sjø. Og her det ikke alltid at de voksne tør eller kommer opp, så da de avhengig av at barna forteller hva de ser. Og sånn får man også i gang dialog. Det noe tekst i utstillingen som ment som samtalegrunnlag. Det blant annet små filosofiske utdrag fra Jostein Gaarder sin bok, hvor Akin Dusakin har illustrert, som gir gode samtaler, som allmennmenneskelige temaer som alle vil være interessert i å snakke om. Så kan man også her delta via verksteder. Hver helg så har vi åpne verksteder som folk kan komme inn på. Og så har vi et sanserom hvor man kan henge opp sine egne drømmer. Og jeg synes det var fint å avslutte med denne her, fordi en av de som har skrevet på drømmene sine her, har også skrevet at man drømmer om å være sammen med familien sin. Og det ikke det vi alle drømmer om? Få mer tid til familien. Takk for meg.
Takk skal du ha. Og da det Hilde Bjørkum fra Førerfestivalen. Velkommen. Vær så god.
Hei. Skal vi se. Jeg hadde en presentasjon. Kanskje du kan ta opp første bilde? Det for seg. Ja. Flott. Jeg kommer altså fra Førerfestivalen, Fører Traditional and World Music Festival. Skal snakke litt om filosofien vår bak barn- og familiearbeidet, og strategiene og aktivitetene som vi gjør. Førerfestivalen den største festivalen i Norden for folk og world music. Det bare å se litt grann av facts her. Familiesegmentet er en veldig stor del av vårt arbeidsområde, sånn at det er litt vanskelig å snakke bare 5 minutter, men jeg skal prøve å gå fort igjennom. Viktigste filosofien vår det er å skape opplevelser på tvers av generasjoner. Det her som David snakket om, creating new memories together, det er hovedkjernen i vår filosofi bak familiesatsingen. Fordi vi tror det har en verdi i seg selv, og fordi vi tror at det er med på å skape grunnlaget for fremtidens publikum. Så det med å ha et common ground, eller altså felles arenaer, der det er lett tilgang, det er en veldig viktig sak for oss. Det er en strategi vi bruker for å nå familiepublikummet, og da kan det hende at den ikke kan være i en sånn sal som dette, for eksempel, men at den heller tar det ut på arenaer der folk møtes likevel, der familiene likevel er. Så dette her er midt på et torg utenfor det store handelssentret i Førde. Det samme her, vi har for eksempel vietnamesisk vanndokketeater midt på Rådhusplassen. Det er igjen dette med common ground, og vi inviterer folk til å komme med familiene, det er enkel tilgang. Men vi vil også gå ut til children's ground, altså deres egen arena der de er. Og hvor er det ungene tilbringer mesteparten av dagen sin, i hvert fall de minste det i barnehagene. Vår festival ligger i sommerferieperioden, så da har ikke vi tilgang til skole på samme måte. Det gjør vi en del på gjennom året, men under selve festivalen så går vi ut til ungene sin arena. Og i år ble Førdefestivalen faktisk åpnet av ungene i Nærleiken barnehage i en stor ny idrettspark i Førde. De talte ned, og det var de ungene som åpnet Førdefestivalen i år. Det var her. Så prøver vi å få inn barnas perspektiv. Så vi har barnereportere som er ute og gir oss tilbakemeldinger. De har egne oppdrag og gir oss tilbakemeldinger på hva de synes var bra, og ikke minst hvor mye de kan greie å ta imot i løpet av en dag. Og det er mange interessante tilbakemeldinger som kommer fram, som er veldig lærerike å ta med seg. Og det bruker vi videre i strategiarbeidet. Her er det vår 5-årige Alexander som er klar for reportasjeoppdrag. En annen strategi i familie- og barnearbeidet vårt er at det skal være accessible, altså tilgjengelighet. At du kan ta med deg en barnevogn. Her måtte de sette det fra seg før de gikk over brua til konserten ute. Men dette med at den er for eksempel i en idrettshall på et stort arrangement i stedet for en sånn stor konsertsal, der du faktisk kan ta med deg en barnevogn eller ta med unger litt enklere og gå inn, og du kan få lov til å gå ut igjen. En annen viktig strategi. Affordable er du skal ha råd til det. Vi har undersøkt ganske mye på prisømfindlighet i familiesegmentet. Og det er klart at det er faktisk en issue, det med how much you can spend, you know. Så vi har store gratisarrangement. Vi har parade i gaten, vi har gratis frokost for alle, og vi får det finansiert gjennom samarbeid med Kokkenes Mesterlaug og med Bondens Marked og med folk som hjelper oss til å få det til. Men det gjør at det føles som lav terskel, og det er enkelt å komme til, og alle får en god opplevelse sammen. Inclusive, det går litt på det samme, det å senke terskelen og få med mange, og snakke til folk på en måte som de opplever som inkluderende. Dette her er på Barnas Værsdager, som er en endagsfestival som vi har i løpet av året utenom festivaltida. Der vi samarbeider med rundt 20 ulike samarbeidspartnere, fra United World College til kulturskoler, til innvandrersenter og asylmottak og all verdens. En annen ting som er veldig viktig, som vi har hatt veldig god respons på i forhold til barne- og familiesegmentet, det er involving. Altså det at du faktisk involverer ungene, at de ikke bare sitter stille og tar imot, men at de lærer om musikken og det vi vil presentere for dem gjennom doing. Learning by doing. I tillegg så har vi både norske og internasjonale talentutviklingsprogram med ungdom. Og vi ber dem om å være med også som frivillige. For det å være med og skape en suksess, det gjør at det skaper identitet, tilhørighet og lojalitet. Så det å involvere folk på den måten er kjempeviktig. Samme her er et bilde fra fargespillprosjektet som jeg har samarbeidet mye med, både i fjor og tidligere, der vi også har laget våre egne utgaver av det i Førde, og har fortsatt med det flotte arbeidet de gjør i Bergen på fargespill, sikkert mange som kjenner det. Og det å få være en del av det hele, det virker så sterkt. Dette er opplevelser som de ungene og ungdommer aldri glemmer i hele sitt liv. Og hva er den sterkeste gjenkjøpsfaktoren? Det er at du får så sterke opplevelser at du vil tilbake dit. Og da må du gjerne ha vært involvert. Så samarbeider vi som sagt med veldig mange organisasjoner og institusjoner. Det fører igjen til at veldig mange føler et eierskap til festivalen, og da får vi utrolig mange ambassadører med oss. Vi samarbeider blant annet med Barnas Turlag, fordi unger vil også gjerne ha forskjellige arenaer og opplevelser, sånn at vi bruker 30 forskjellige arenaer, og det fjellet det så i stad, der må publikum gå opp 700 meter for å oppleve konserten. Men det er masse unger og familier som gjør det. Og gjennom alt dette arbeidet med å ha så mange involverte og så mange samarbeidsparter, så får vi utrolig mange ambassadører for festivalen og for det vi gjør, og de genererer igjen nytt publikum. Dette er en del av våre frivillige, som vi har rundt 350 av. De er jo også selv ofte foreldre som har med seg ungene sine, og som igjen blir våre ambassadører. Så that's it. Det er noe av det vi gjør og filosofien bak. Takk for meg med reklamen 6.–10. juli.
Takk skal du ha. Og så har vi Toril Rokseth fra Nobels fredssenter.
Hei. Nå er det litt utakknemlig for meg å være sist, altså. Så håper jeg dere klarer å holde dere våkne litt til. Jeg skal si noe om hva vi gjør mot publikum, altså familiepublikummet hos oss. Det bærer litt preg at jeg laget en presentasjon en uke før jeg visste hva jeg skulle si, så det er litt flere bilder enn jeg rekker å vise antageligvis, men vi gjør så godt vi kan. Jeg er undervisningsleder på Nobels fredssenter i Oslo, og jeg leder et team på 4 museumspedagoger, og vi er ansvarlige for å lage ca. 10 barne- og familie- og skoleaktiviteter i løpet av et år. Og hos oss, så som dere, det er ikke sikkert alle vet hvor Nobels fredssenter er eller har vært der, men det er jo et museum som skal rett og slett forvalte Nobels fredspris, da, og Alfred Nobel og historien om alle fredsprisvinnerne. Det er en ganske stor oppgave, og det er ikke alltid at temaene er så enkle å gjøre barnevennlige, eller familievennlige, men jeg tror vi gjør det ganske så greit. Dette her bildet viser en utstilling vi har nå. Det er en utstilling om de siste 2 fredsprisvinnerne, Malala og Kailash. Og det første jeg vil si noe om, det er samarbeid med utstillingsavdelingen. For formidlingsavdelingen som jeg leder, vi har i løpet av de 10 siste årene styrket det samarbeidet veldig. Og vi har alltid en museumspedagog med i utviklingen av en utstilling. Det er for å sikre at dette her er nettopp familievennlig, at bildene henger lavt, tekstene er enkle, at det er aktivitet i utstillingene, og når vi klarer å nesten alltid, så ser vi at samme hvilket tema det er, så kan vi gjøre dette tilgjengelig for familier med litt rettlegging. Det vi ser her er noe som vi kaller en aktivitetsløype. Det har vi fått veldig positiv respons på å ha, rett og slett en guide til hvordan familier kan oppleve en utstilling sammen. Denne vi har akkurat nå inneholder 14 stopp, det er spennende oppgaver, og det er spørsmål til bildene. Det kan være kunstbilder, det kan være fotografier, for eksempel snakk sammen om hvorfor dere tror så mange barn i verden må jobbe. eller hvilket arbeid dere synes at det er greit at barn har, og ikke greit at barn har. Rett og slett for å oppleve utstillingen sammen. Ja. Alt av materiell lager vi selvfølgelig på, skal vi se, nei, det var litt feil, 2 språk. Og vi ser ofte på sosiale medier at folk bruker det for å uttrykke hva de synes om vårt familietilbud. Denne dama har jeg hatt mye kontakt med senere, for hun jobber med litt av det samme som meg. Det var spennende. Dette er bare for å vise en annen sånn familieguide eller aktivitetsløype vi lagde til en utstilling som heter «Hva spiser verden?». Og dere har kanskje hørt om den utstillingen før. Den viser hva mange forskjellige familier fra hele verden spiser på en uke. Dere har sikkert sett bilder av dette. Og det var en strålende anledning til å lage selvfølgelig et familiehefte. Hvordan skal man oppleve denne utstillingen sammen? Og ha fokus på miljø, og hva har det å si hva jeg spiser egentlig? Her ser vi et bilde av barneklubben. Vi har Barnas fredsklubb. Foreldrene er jo alltid med, men her er det vi som leder sesjonene med de ungene. De inviteres til å åpne alle barneaktivitetene våre. De er på en måte VIP-gjestene når det er sesjoner som kan passe for dem. Og det de åpner akkurat nå, det er denne aktivitetsløypa til Hva spiser verden, som jeg nevnte. Dette er bare et bilde fra utstillingen. Det var veldig mye ulik aktivitet for unger og voksne i utstillingen. Her handler det om å egentlig finne ut hvor maten kommer fra. Matche dyr og mat, og se om du skjønner hvor egget kommer fra, for eksempel. Utstillingsåpninger, det er også en ting jeg vil trekke frem. Så ofte som vi kan, når vi ser at det er muligheter for å lage noe for familier, så gjør vi det. Og åpningene våre er svære, og de går gjerne over 3 dager. Her skal unger og voksne sammen lage en søppelby for å fokusere på kildesortering. Jeg har så liten tid igjen. Ja, bare en gang har vi laget en ren barne- og familieutstilling. Det ønsker vi å gjøre mer av. Dette er en utstilling som handler om flyktninger. Den heter Nansen og jeg, og den tar ungene med i en utstilling der de er på en måte Nansens lille hjelper og deler ut tepper, for eksempel, samler inn vann og så videre. Det var selvfølgelig 2 barn som er jo litt kjente, men de måtte jo åpne en barneutstilling. Og så fikk denne familien med seg hjem da et bevis på hva de hadde gjort i løpet av utstillingen. Alt handler jo selvfølgelig om involvering. Men det er altså 1 minutt til. Har jeg ikke, men det tar jeg. Det er ikke alltid at utstillingene, eller fredsprisvinneren, altså jeg kan jo, tro eller ikke, styre hvem som får fredsprisen nå neste gang i oktober. Så ikke alltid det passer, rett og slett, og da er det fint å ha maskotter. Vi har utviklet Fred og Tokaluka, dere ser de her. Kvisten Animasjon, som har laget Jul i Flåklypa og Kvisten-filmene, de har hjulpet oss med dette. Det har vært veldig nyttig. Disse er også på kaféen med fantastisk mat for øvrig, og de var også med på Miniøya i år på Tøyen. Her ser dere de veldig imponerende personene som da åpner en ny barneaktivitet. Det er barneklubben igjen som åpner en av disse barneaktivitetene som Fred og Tokaluka er hovedpersonene i. Her er det en aktivitet som vi har nå, som handler om de grønne fredsprisvinnerne. Og barna skal ikke bruke iPads i utstillingen. Det er vi på en måte litt ferdig med, men mer mekanikk og løse oppgaver sammen. Og du er nødt til å være flere sammen for å løse oppgavene, så de må få hjelp fra andre besøkende. Samlekort, selvfølgelig, av fredsprisvinnerne. Dette her har vi jo tatt barn i å drive og bytte, og akkurat sånn som de spiller med fotballkort, så da føler vi at målet vårt var nådd. Sjekk at de har alle kortene, og så bare for å vise neste aktivitet som vi holder på med nå, den handler om ytringsfrihet. Fred og Tokaluka sier ifra heter den, og her ser det Liu Xiaobo som jo sitter i fengsel for sin kamp for ytringsfrihet. For å avslutte, masse ord på veldig kort tid, men det vi synes selvfølgelig viktig at familier får oppleve sammen, og at de får interagere, og at det ikke bare blir servert passivt til de i en utstilling. Så det viktig for oss at de får lov å sette sitt avtrykk når de på besøk. Ja, jeg sier masse med det. Takk skal du ha.
Takk skal du ha. Det er litt vann. Ja. Kjempeflott. Da vi vel i gang med en liten diskusjon. Jeg vet ikke, Ingvild, har du mulighet til å gå ned i salen hvis noen har lyst til å spørre? Har du sjanse? Får vi til en mikk som kan dure litt rundt? Ja? En mikrofon? Ja? Bare ta litt vann til Hilde. Sånn. Vær så god. Bare, she was the only one getting water. Det er jo litt sånn spennende å høre litt med dere tre. Litt med utgangspunkt i hva Sam og David har fortalt. At det her med samarbeid vil jeg gjerne begynne med. For hvordan opplever dere samarbeidsklima på det der med å profilere og kommunisere familieaktivitetene? Altså, hvordan det i Bergen for eksempel?
Jeg opplever at vi har veldig gode samarbeid,
Ja.
særlig gjennom denne Barnas kulturhelg og også Alfa og Omega-festivalen, som fungerer veldig godt. Også Barnas festspillprogram, uteprogrammet,
Ja.
som har blitt bedre. Så jeg synes vi har gode samarbeid. Men det klart vi har potensial til å bli enda bedre.
Ja. Hvordan det med i Oslo? Har dere noen sånne felleskanaler der i forhold til å...
Vet du hva, det ikke så veldig bra der egentlig.
Nei.
Altså det vil si vi en helt annen type institusjon da. Så oss museumene imellom som driver med litt sånne tunge temaer, og har litt sånn staselig bygning som virker litt vanskelig å trenge inn i, kanskje, og litt sånn stengte dører. Det ser jo litt sånn ut der. Vi ikke så gode til samarbeidet, synes jeg. Så det håper jeg vi skal bli mye bedre på i fremtiden. Det flere og flere museer som også tenker sånn som oss nå, og da det selvfølgelig naturlig å bygge et nettverk.
Og for dere selv, det nesten dere som blir samarbeidsfaktoren, eller hvordan det når det en festival sånn?
Ja, altså vi samarbeider jo med andre festivaler også, men det viktigste for oss de andre, det kan være kulturinstitusjoner eller skoler, eller det UVC og det kulturskolen, og alle de med på å bli ambassadøren, ikke sant? For at de snakker ut i sine kanaler om det samme arrangementet hvis de med på å samarbeide om det. Men jeg synes det veldig interessant å diskutere det her med en felles portal, a common portal where you can address and find information of family-friendly events. So I think that is really an interesting thing to do, and I think it's much more to do about it. But we use the cooperation partners as strategic tools to reach more audience.
I just asked them about collaboration, how it is in the different parts of their country, because we in a way we lack this national, what to say, collaboration that everyone can turn their events into and what they're doing. So I don't think there's any collaboration between cities or anything like that. We have smaller collaborations in some of the cities. Og her i Kristiansand nå har vi jo fått en sånn avis om barn i byen for eksempel, og har også fått en sånn strategi da, med kommunen at de vil bli barnas by og sånne ting. Så det noen sånne ting på gang, men man savner vel den her overordnet store samarbeidsinitiativet kanskje i forhold til de tingene. Hva tenker dere på Kode? Synes dere det vellykket å ha en sånn egen avdeling via familiene? Altså å på en måte isolere den opplevelsen?
Det har vært veldig positivt, men det jo ikke sånn at familiene ikke kommer og ser Munch og Isedal og sånn, eller Astrup. Men det å ha et sånt egen avdeling hvor ting tilpasset for barnefamilier har vært kjempesuksess. Her det jo sånn at det også henger Astrup-verk, og altså det alltid et fokus på at det skal være høy kvalitet, like høy kvalitet på det som lages der, som de andre utstillingene. Så det ikke noe barnslige utstillinger med dårlig kunst, tvert imot, det skal være veldig høy kvalitet. Men bildene, vi hadde et Picasso i forrige utstilling som hang der, det glasset, sånn at det trygt for familiene å komme der. De føler ikke det, kanskje redselen, jeg har en vild 3-åring, tør jeg å ta med inn og se Picasso. Her vet jeg at det går bra. Vi oppfordrer selvfølgelig til å ikke ta på kunsten, for det jo en del av dannelsen, men det også ikke noe krise om det skjer.
Jeg tenker at jeg opplever jo i veldig stor grad at unger, de skjønner jo kvalitet, og du kan utsette det her for hva som helst, men du må tenke på tilgjengelighet, accessible, affordable and involving. That is the 3 key words that I think is most important for us, because we see how successful it is and how it builds the audience.
How is it, David? Your main focus is probably the facilitating the events, probably at the Family Arts Campaign, or am I wrong?
It's getting arts organisations thinking more about the needs of families in everything that they do, and then supporting them in terms of reaching those families. I think increasingly, as the campaign has developed, we've helped to get people thinking in some different ways, and perhaps be a little bit more challenging around some things. I would agree completely, and I love what I could understand of your presentation around your key drivers, but things like pricing and accessibility. We know in the United Kingdom for theatre, the shows that have taken the most money in the last 3 years have been family shows. And that it's not always about keeping the price very low. If people are going out for big treats, to big events, they will pay lots of money to take their family to do those things if they think they're going to get the value from it. So accessibility is key and crucial, but it's part of a broader approach to families. Other things that we've started working on are again a bit more challenging, and some of our partners find it easier to get their head around than others. But looking at how family friendly we are as an industry to work for. We've done some research, and we know that those working in museums and the visual arts tend to find it a lot easier to be parents and support their families and do caring roles than those working in music and theatre. And are there things that we could be doing as a sector to make the sector more family friendly and a better workplace for families?
Dere må gjerne, hvis det noen spørsmål fra salen, så må dere gjerne bare fyre løs underveis. Vi tar det fortløpende. Ser det dårlig ut foreløpig, eller det nei?
Could I say something about pricing? Because I think it's really also a matter of who you want to attract to your activities. As we see in most cultural institutions in Norway, it's a white audience and some with their kids, but so we have a goal to reach also the immigrant families and all kind of social level, and of course me too. I think you can set a price, and this also a signal of a value of what you are presenting, right? But still I think we have to change the way of thinking how we can get all kind of people in Norway. I mean, it's so many. We are a multicultural society, but it doesn't show in the culture events, and that I think we really have to take seriously and try to do something with it, whatever we can do.
I think also that's really important. We have an obligation to be for everybody, and that's of course a difference if you are having a aquaria or something like that, it's not the same as a museum with the heritage that's really important for everybody to have and to afford to go to.
Yeah, and we have exactly the same issue in the UK, and over the last 20 years, it really hasn't improved, and we have to address it. Our audiences are not reflective of our society, but also what you see on stage and what you see in galleries is not reflective of what you see in society either.
No, that's true. And how is it the Nobel Peace Center? Is it diversity in the audience, in the family audience?
You mean with the background,
Yeah.
people's ethnic backgrounds? Not too bad, but it's something to do with the Nobel Peace Prize, the status of the symbolic meaning of that, and people travel to Oslo to see that first, maybe. So we have an advantage there, absolutely. And we, as I said, we have everything we use in bilingual, both English and Norwegian, and sometimes more languages. Not too bad, but as I said, I don't think it's us. I think it's the name, the Nobel Peace Prize, actually.
No,
Yeah.
probably. Also attracting visitors
Yeah,
from
I
abroad,
think so,
probably.
if
Yeah.
I should be honest.
One important thing that you think you are stressing is communicating age limits as well.
Communicating.
Age limits for the families, isn't that quite important?
Well, that's where we started from. We thought that age badges would be the good way forward. And then we started talking to the Family and Childcare Trust, and we said, well, how can we work with you to come up with these age badges? And what came back very quickly was that age badges, they did not think was the right way at all.
Oh, okay.
The far more important is to give families the kind of information that they need to know around what they're going to see or experience. And then they can decide whether their 7-year-old is up for that or not. Because one 7-year-old might be, one 7-year-old may hate loud bangs and things like that. So it's more a case of give all the information about the physical access, but also about the content, about emotional themes. All of those things is more important than just putting an age on it.
And let them decide. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's probably something they have done very much in cinemas, but not that much in museums and galleries and theater. Ja, du har en. Ja.
Is this on? Yeah, I have a question. Family friendly sometimes cuts both ways because there are groups, families obviously want to know when they're invited and when the programming is really suited for them. But often there are groups who don't want to come because they know there will be families there and prefer, more quiet or contemplative or mature things. And I'm curious if any of the panelists have any experience in messaging or marketing to signal both messages, that some programs are family friendly and some programs are family free. That is, don't include families.
Interesting.
Well, we have at least some that's not for families, where we serve alcohol, for instance. So that will be a real clear message, and it's after 7 o'clock in the evening, perhaps. But otherwise, we will welcome all groups in the normal program.
How is that in Førde?
Well, we have only, I think, 2-3 events with age limit more than 18 years. But we try to guide a little bit in our Facebook site. We have this, we explain the family track during the festival days. I try to explain a little bit, communicate directly, and then we have the newcomers track and the experienced, and try to segment the different messages to different audiences. But still, the whole attitude of the festival is that it is really that we welcome the family to all events. Just this few that we have this age limit. So for us that is really important because I think this common experiences is so important for us. And to be the culture house is of course the most important arena with big concert halls and all those things. But it's also then so important to have all the other arenas that are different. venues that where they can come very easily and they don't sit like this, and it's difficult to go out again with child and all these things. So yeah.
Did you have a point on that?
And I think it's a very good question, and I think you can answer it in different ways. I know there are many organizations who are getting their segmentation right and are getting different messages to different people about the same events. So this is still the event you always knew and loved, but at the same time you're talking to a family audience in a different way to encourage them to come along. What's been fascinating in the UK is looking across art forms and seeing the difference in different art forms. And most art forms seem to generally be quite inclusive and very keen to get a broader range of audience in. Yes, make sure that they're educated and understand what are the expectations of them in that environment. But the one art form that cries out is orchestral concerts, where orchestras seem to have got themselves into this position where they do family concerts and they do proper concerts. And there is no kind of progression route from we go to the family event, which is all nice and short pieces and we can clap along and whatever, to the, oh, we've got to go in there, we've got to be completely silent, we can't do anything between movements. And that, I think, is a real problem. And I think it's not being cracked by orchestras in the UK. If it has in Norway, we could do with that learning in the UK.
I can also have an example from our museum, because we are in Norway doing workshops. Usually means that there are hands-on activities for children, and we have last year started workshop for grown-ups or for adults with artists, and they can come in daytime on Sundays. And for a month ago we had a local artist who embroidered some Playboy pages. So that was a typical example of a workshop for adults. One thing we have to, we're soon over time, aren't we? Ingvild wants me to stop now, but we're going a bit further. Because we need to talk about one thing, and that's the element of where do the thoughts of being family friendly coming into the production, and is it just something you do afterwards, after the artistic production is being made, and you just put it on and you facilitate it, or is it something that you're thinking about from the start of making something? I guess doing what you do and having these quite hard themes, that's usually a problem.
Yeah, it can be very challenging. But we are always, as I think I mentioned, one of the educators, or mostly me, from day one with the whole team, with the production of the exhibitions. And meet with the artists, and so we do that from day one. And we didn't do that 10 years ago. Started that when I started 6 years ago. I wanted that to happen, and I think that is a positive change we've seen in the organization. Also, because the family area is lifted up high up on the agenda for the whole organization, not only for me, the educator, who does this thing with kids, but they all now seem to better understand that this is 1/3 of the public coming to see the exhibition. So everybody should be responsible and engage with us. So from day one, I can really recommend that.
I guess there's a shift going on also in Norway in that regard. But go ahead.
But sometimes we have exhibition that's quite problematic for young children, and perhaps you also will have that. Now we will have the next exhibition. We will have rape, and it will have killing and molesting of women, and really hard topics, and we have put a 16 years limit on the exhibition. So then you will not it's not suitable for families.
We don't
Yeah.
do that, but we write something for the people in the desk, in the front desk, so that they can inform and so that they will prepare the families. And we always also make guides. Like, we don't recommend this exhibition for your kids, but if you want to show your kids, or if your kid is very, in gunpowder or whatever, this is how we can talk about these topics. So we just make a guide for the parents. It usually works, but sometimes they take it as that we say that they should see this horrible exhibition on rape. Yeah.
But of course, yeah.
The approach we've come to in the UK is to encourage organisations to take a holistic approach across a year to families. So across a year, you may well have things that are not appropriate for families, and that's absolutely fine. But anything that you do to think about, well, are there segments, or are there kinds of, would older children actually, if they were provided with some support and guidance, would they get something out of it as part of a family experience? But the key thing for us is getting away from families equals Christmas. And that was the issue for a lot of organisations, particularly theatres, that you thought about families at Christmas and then you just forgot about them for the rest of the year. So thinking the whole time, oh.
They're boarding us, so I think we will leave it with that, with David's words.
To you, but I think we need to go to break now.
Yeah, we're going to break, yeah. This is how I always do. Thank you very much for all of you. Thank you.